A lonely caveman draws a berry red heart on the cave wall, stepping back with a deep sigh of contemplation and loneliness. He watches mammoths pass in the distance from a high plateau, leaning on his spear and sighing dramatically in wishful frustration. A rival laughs loudly and mockingly at the hero's romantic dreams. The hero clenches his fists in annoyance and defiance. Thunder strikes as the hero, face wet with rain, dramatically raises a clenched fist and vows to find a wife. He awkwardly asks a large, indifferent lizard for advice in the dense jungle. The unhelpful creature simply flicks its tongue and hisses. He struggles, grunting heavily, trying to lift a huge, roughly carved stone ring that is clearly too heavy, collapsing in exhausted failure. He leans over the lake, making exaggerated facial expressions and odd grunts, checking his reflection to practice looking charming and romantic. He walks past a group of tribe women, trying to look cool, while they stop their activity and stare at him with confusion and mild disgust. He hopefully offers a large, dead, battered fish as a gift. The woman instantly slaps him hard across the face, causing the fish to flop to the ground in rejection. He proudly presents beautiful, vibrant flowers, unaware they are poisonous. The woman recoils in horror, pointing out the dangerous blooms. Three very old, stern-faced cave elders slowly and gravely shake their heads in unison, showing profound disappointment in the defeated hero. Straining with determination, he wrestles a massive, immovable boulder on the dusty training ground, focusing intensely on building strength. He learns a crucial domestic skill, carefully turning meat on a spit over a controlled fire, smiling tentatively when it is cooked, not burned. He dances awkwardly around the central fire pit with uncoordinated, large stomping movements, looking ridiculous but full of clumsy, uninhibited joy. A woman watches his dancing from the firelight's edge. Her face softens, and she lets out a small, genuine, and endearing laugh. Seeing the woman laugh at him, the mortified hero's eyes widen in terror, and he frantically scrambles to hide behind the nearest large bush. She approaches the bush cautiously, peering around the leaves with a gentle smile and clear curiosity, trying to find him. He cautiously pushes a small handful of safe, bright red berries through the bush, his hand trembling slightly, making a tentative peace offering. She gently takes the berries from his hand, looks directly at him with warmth and gratitude, and smiles a genuine, accepting smile. Overwhelmed by this positive acceptance, the hero's eyes roll up dramatically and he falls over sideways, collapsing completely into a dead faint. She is shown dragging his limp, heavy body back towards the camp by one ankle, looking exasperated but slightly amused by her unconscious, awkward hero. She dumps his limp body near the fire. The entire tribe stares at the scene with shocked confusion that quickly turns into collective, stifled amusement. The hero's eyes snap open dramatically. He sits up quickly, looking around wildly, then lets out a terrifying, silent grunt, convinced he has been kidnapped. He is still twitching nervously. She leans in, laughs softly, and gently pats his head a few times in a comforting but slightly condescending manner. He opens his mouth, trying desperately to speak a proper word or sentence, but only simple, involuntary grunts of embarrassment emerge. She listens intently to his awkward attempts, then replies with a flawless, complex grunt sequence. She is perfectly fluent and understands him completely. Their new bond is sealed over a simple meal. They sit close together, sharing perfectly roasted meat and exchanging glances of deep, quiet contentment. The hero proudly gestures to his paintings, including the heart, beaming with pride and awaiting her reaction to his artistic passion. She points to a mammoth drawing, tracing a line, and makes an instructive grunt, gently correcting the creature's inaccurate anatomy. They both look at the corrected drawing and break into warm, genuine, shared laughter, their faces lit by the torchlight in comfortable intimacy. Determined to impress, he puffs out his chest and recklessly challenges a massive wild boar with a small club, while his woman watches with deep concern. The challenge ends quickly, as the boar easily sidesteps him, sending the hero flying through the air to land painfully on the ground in total defeat. Her gentle, nurturing nature takes over, as she carefully applies crushed green herbs to the scrape on his arm, flowing softly on the wound. He avoids her eyes, embarrassed by his failure, but when he looks up, his eyes convey profound, silent gratitude for her tender care. They run, arms outstretched, through the dark grass, chasing tiny luminous fireflies in a shared moment of playful, magical delight. He presents a small, smooth, painstakingly carved stone hairpin, a simple, hopeful gesture of deep affection offered with a nervous smile. In return, she immediately ties a practical and powerful necklace of small bones and teeth around his neck, smiling proudly at his acceptance. They look at each other, both smiling slightly, then break and renew eye contact, their growing affection marked by gentle, nervous shyness. Throughout the camp, various groups of tribe members stop their work and lean in to whisper dramatically, casting judgmental glances at the new couple. Watching from the shadows, the rival caveman is consumed by intense, furious jealousy, violently clenching his jaw and fists. The rival aggressively approaches the hero in the clearing, slapping his own chest and pointing to a duel spot in a challenging, loud grunt. The hero forces his face into a mask of supreme, comically over-the-top confidence and sharply and decisively accepts the challenge to appear fearless. His forced confidence immediately cracks. His eyes dart nervously, and a sudden, crippling sense of terror and deep regret floods his face. Both men charge at each other, swinging large, crude wooden clubs wildly. The rival is powerful. The hero is clumsy. The action is intense and dangerous. The rival, mid-swing, steps heavily on a discarded, soft, banana-like fruit. His foot slips, sending him tumbling head over heels in a sudden, comical interruption. The rival is crumpled on the ground. The hero stands over him, frozen mid-swing, utterly bewildered by his strange, accidental victory. She reacts first, throwing her arms up in the air and letting out a loud, triumphant, uninhibited cheer and howl of pride for the hero. The assembled tribe members slowly and reluctantly begin to clap their hands together, compelled to applaud the result, though few look genuinely pleased. An elder, holding a bone staff, steps forward and makes a formal, powerful sequence of grunts that clearly translates to a declaration of marriage. The hero's eyes bulge out. He grabs his throat and makes a choking sound of pure, ecstatic shock, completely overwhelmed by the sudden official decree.
The hero stands tall and serious on a cliff edge, dramatically pointing into the distance, explaining the crucial gravity of the upcoming wedding mammoth hunt. The hero gestures wildly at a small group of friends holding clubs and spears. Their faces show a confused, hesitant obligation, as they clearly do not understand the mission. The hero and his strange friends follow gigantic, clearly defined footprints in the dusty riverbed, their heads lowered in eager, serious concentration. The hero and friends stop abruptly. A massive, hairy mammoth figure is visible on the distant horizon. Its colossal roar shakes the ground, inducing immediate terror. All the friends, including the hero, freeze instantly in awkward mid-movement poses, eyes wide with sheer, silent panic and palpable fear. The hero, recovering slightly, attempts a heroic, brave throw of a small, inadequate stick toward the distant mammoth. It sails awkwardly and misses by a huge, pathetic margin. The mammoth turns, enraged, and begins to charge directly toward the group. The ground shakes violently and dust billows up behind the massive, rushing creature. The hero and his friends turn and run full tilt, scattering in a panicked, disorganized flight away from the charging mammoth, running for their lives. The hero trips dramatically over a root, falling hard onto the ground. He looks up in despair as the mammoth's massive, dusty foot approaches and stops abruptly, mere inches from his head. The massive textured trunk of the mammoth descends slowly and gently toward the hero's face, sniffing inquisitively and without aggression. The hero remains frozen in silent terror. Realizing the mammoth is gentle, the hero slowly, tentatively raises a hand and pats the soft, warm fur of the trunk, smiling a relieved and loving smile. The hero is now seated confidently on the mammoth's massive head, guiding it gently. The mammoth walks slowly and compliantly, signifying a surprising new friendship. The hero, sitting atop the majestic mammoth, enters the camp in a triumphant return. His formerly confused friends trail weakly behind. The scene is majestic. The entire tribe stops all activity and stares up at the mammoth and hero in collective stunned awe, many holding their hands to their mouths in disbelief. A fast-paced sequence shows tribe members rapidly clearing ground,
erecting temporary structures and collecting flowers, demonstrating hectic, excited wedding preparation. The curious woman sits calmly, while a friend delicately weaves brightly colored, non-poisonous flowers into her long, dark hair, preparing her with serene composure. The hero stands awkwardly alone, attempting to walk slowly and deliberately, with perfect, stiff, upright posture, like a nervous gentleman on his way to the altar. The camera focuses on large, primitive drums being beaten with heavy rhythm. The powerful sound echoes across the vast valley, setting a deep, solemn ceremonial tone. Tribe members, carrying long branches tipped with fire, spin and dance intensely around the central fire pit in a high-energy, ritualistic spectacle. The gigantic mammoth stands placidly, while a woman delicately places a large, simple, woven crown of flowers upon its head, transforming the gentle beast into a ceremonial figure. The hero, dressed in his best skins, walks slowly and stiffly down the dramatic aisle of lava rocks, trying to maintain nervous dignity. The curious woman, adorned with flowers, approaches slowly through the torchlight, her serene beauty catching the light as a prenuptial vision. As the couple meets at the altar, the surrounding tribe members suddenly burst into loud cheers, raising their arms and stomping their feet in collective, unbridled jubilation. The lead elder stands before the couple, slowly and with great authority, raising his decorated bone staff high, signifying the solemn start of the formal vows. The lead elder closes his eyes and performs a series of precise, complex, ancient marriage grunts with deep, ritualistic seriousness. The hero attempts to repeat the elder's complex grunts, resulting in a comical, garbled sequence of squeaks and sounds that bear no resemblance to the ancient vow. The entire tribe, upon hearing the hero's terrible performance, bursts into a wave of relieved, gentle, communal laughter, shaking their heads at his typical awkwardness. The curious woman steps forward, closes her eyes, and flawlessly repeats the elder's long, complicated, ancient marriage grunts with perfect intonation and serious competence. The hero watches her perfect performance, his face flushing deep red with a mix of shame at his own failure and overwhelming loving admiration for her skill. They exchange small, rough, but clearly carved stone rings, sliding them onto each other's fingers, a simple, careful gesture of commitment. Immediately after the rings are exchanged, the night sky erupts in a stunning, dramatic shower of meteors, blazing across the darkness as a sign of cosmic celebration. The friendly mammoth, adorned with the flower crown, raises its trunk and lets out a colossal, joyful trumpet that sounds like a celebratory bell peal. The tribe's reaction is immediate and wild. They throw their hands up, jump up and down, and let out a collective, prolonged howl of uninhibited celebration. The hero and his new bride lean toward each other and share a slightly awkward but deeply tender grunt kiss, signifying their physical union. In the distance, a large dormant volcano rumbles deeply and lets out a harmless puff of steam, a sound so grand it feels like the natural world is applauding the marriage. The tribe descends into a lively, slightly chaotic feast, tearing into large chunks of roasted boar and biting into gigantic, primitive fruits with joyous hunger. The hero, eating enthusiastically, leans too close to the fire. A small flame catches his beard, and his eyes suddenly widen in horrified realization. His bride quickly and calmly grabs a handful of water and douses the small flame on his beard, then gives him a stern but loving, practical glare. A group of musicians pound large, smooth stones rhythmically against each other, creating a loud, powerful, driving beat for the continuing celebration. The rival caveman sits alone in the deep shadows, away from the joyous feast, sulking miserably and glowering with intense resentment at the happy couple. The friendly mammoth uses its trunk to subtly and stealthily snag a large piece of roasted meat from a distracted guest's pile, quickly popping the stolen food into its own mouth. The tribe members who witness the mammoth's mischief quickly look away, pretending they saw nothing to avoid conflict with the giant, celebrated guest. Burning sparks from the massive central fire fly upward into the deep, starry night sky, mingling with the meteor remains, a visual symbol of passion and energy. The hero holds his new wife tightly in a long, deeply secure hug, resting his head on hers, his expression of profound happiness and secure love. She breaks the serious moment by playfully but sharply swatting him on the shoulder with a small bone, a light-hearted gesture of affectionate dominance. They join hands and dance quickly, uninhibitedly in a wide circle around the huge central fire, completely lost in the moment of ecstatic joy. The lead elder stands over the dancing couple, raising his staff one last time and making a loud, definitive pronouncement in ancient grunts, sealing the marriage contract. The hero scrambles onto a high rock and lets out a long, loud, proud, and triumphant howl directly at the moon, celebrating his success and new status. The bride, standing next to him, lets out a responsive, even louder and more powerful howl back at the moon, subtly asserting her equality and power in the new partnership. The couple sits side by side in their messy cave the next morning. They are tired and tousle-haired, pointing and aggressively grunting, arguing at different spots on the wall, clearly having their first marital dispute over the new decor.